Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the incredible tech that powers live sports. To work with the biggest leagues in the world, these tech startups have to pass a really high-stakes test. So we're going to break down their game plan for making the cut.
Just imagine the chaos. The winning shot, the final buzzer is about to go, and the live feed just goes dark. For the startups that are powering that entire experience, that's not just a bad dream, it's the exact risk their entire business is built to prevent.
So what are these companies actually doing behind the scenes to make sure that stream never, ever dies?
Well, they are basically the invisible tech backbone of modern sports. They're the ones juggling just immense amounts of data from all the live feeds, generating those cool analytical overlays you see on screen, instantly creating highlights for social media, and managing these massive video archives. And they're doing it all in real time. It's a huge technical lift.
But, if you want to work with the major leagues, we're talking national sports organizations, global broadcasters, you have to prove that you can be trusted with their super valuable, super sensitive content. And that brings us to this massive challenge called SOC 2. So think of SOC 2 as this really rigorous, independent audit that proves a company has all the right systems in place to handle sensitive info securely and reliably. And for their big clients, it's not just a suggestion, it is an absolute non-negotiable requirement.
So the whole audit is built around these 5 core principles, and they're known as the Trust Services Criteria. Now, security, that's the foundation. Everyone has to cover it, no exceptions. The others, availability, processing integrity, confidentiality, and privacy, well, you choose those based on what your company actually promises its customers.
Okay, so you're a lean startup. You're moving fast. How in the world do you even begin to tackle something this big? The key thing is you can't boil the ocean. You have to create a really smart game plan. And that all starts with a strategic process called scoping.
And let's be crystal clear about this. This is not just about filling out some paperwork. Getting the scope right, deciding exactly which systems and which of those criteria to include in the audit, that is the one decision that will determine whether this whole thing succeeds or fails.
And the difference here is just night and day. A strategic scope is focused. It lines up perfectly with what your clients are actually asking for, and it makes the whole audit go so much smoother. A poor scope, well, it does the exact opposite. It just wastes a ton of time and money, and it can even cause you to fail the audit.
All right, let's bring this down to the field level. How does this actually apply in the super high-pressure world of live sports video? What are those specific industry risks that a startup really has to worry about?
First up, pipeline failures. You have to picture this. They're processing live streams from maybe dozens of cameras all at once. Any dropped frames, any failed processing job directly threatens the availability of the broadcast and the integrity of that video data itself.
And then you've got the everyone's watching problem, right? A championship game, some crazy viral moment, and suddenly your traffic just explodes. If you don't have the proper scaling built in, the system's availability can totally crumble under that pressure. And that leads to that black screen nobody wants to see.
And listen, it's not just the video feed you have to worry about. Think about all the data around it. We're talking sensitive player biometrics, proprietary team strategies, maybe even private user notes. If that stuff leaks, it compromises confidentiality and can even violate user privacy.
And this right here is exactly why processing integrity is so critical. The clients, they have to know that what they're showing is real, that the goal line camera footage is 100% accurate and hasn't been messed with. It's all about maintaining trust with viewers, with the leagues, and even with betting platforms.
So, knowing all these intense risks, what are the practical steps a startup can actually take to build a winning SOC2 playbook?
It really comes down to a clear, methodical process. It's about drawing the lines on the map. What's in the audit, what's out. It's about listing all your partners and cloud services, because guess what? Their security is now your security. And then it's about putting key controls in place and, crucially, documenting every single decision along the way. That's how you turn a monster audit into a totally manageable project.
And in the end, it all comes back to this. This is not just about passing an audit. It's about building resilience into the DNA of your company. When your scope is tied directly to real business risks, you're not just checking a box. You are building a fundamentally stronger company from the ground up.
And here is probably the most important takeaway of all. A SOC 2 report isn't just a certificate you get to hang on the wall. It's a framework for building a more reliable, more secure, and more resilient company.
The kind of company that the biggest names in sports can totally depend on when millions and millions of fans are watching.
And that really leaves us with a much bigger question, one that goes way beyond just sports tech, right? In a world where pretty much every service we use is built on data and these incredibly complex systems, the framework for proving you can be trusted, well, that's no longer just a competitive advantage. It's the very bedrock of doing business.